Well, since it looks like everybody's here, I think Commissioner Nolan is working on his video part of it. I think we can go ahead and call our meeting to order. Ginny, if you and Colonel Bullock are ready.
There he is.
If you're
He's there, Chuck. Okay.
great.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So what I'd like to do today is go ahead and give folks an opportunity for introductions, and then we can do a super quick reminder of what the scope of the project is, what we're trying to accomplish here, and then we can talk about Mason County's plans for real estate, and then kind of where we think things are going, or kind of our next steps. Before we get started, and we really had hoped to do this in person, the pace of things happening, I'm really thankful folks were still able to gather by video, knowing that many of you have not met, some of you have, or most of you have met, not everybody has met. And so I do want to give an opportunity for introductions. So, sir, we talked, we wanted to kind of advance the project, and it was, as we were talking to NWD, we felt that kind of moving forward, it was really important for you to have an opportunity to meet folks here. So I'm going to go ahead and let you kind of get us started, and then we'll do introductions here.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say beyond what you said, Jenny, and I'll let you run this one, but I would just say, Chairman Miller, commissioners, thanks for coming together on this important topic. Obviously, this is a critical project for the region, which is why we're all here to work together to move it forward. And it's had its share of friction, as projects do. Whenever you're changing things, there's always multiple interests, and we all have to figure out how to come to a collaborative solution. So again, as Jenny said, I appreciate everyone coming together. We have kind of the lead experts on where the project stands from the Corps of Engineers on the line. They're about to introduce themselves. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to make sure we understand each other's point of view and that we have a collective way forward.
Great. And then with my team, so yeah, I'm Jenny Derrick. I'm the civilian deputy, and I've met many of you back when we signed the agreement for the Skokomish project, and kind of off and on throughout the last couple of years. I also have, I'll kind of have Jessie introduce herself and then kind of bump it through the team here.
Hi, everyone. I've had the opportunity to meet some, but not all of you. I'm Jessie Winkler. I'm the chief of the Civil Works branch in the Seattle district, and also our congressional liaison. I also have the honor of being a previous project manager for this project, so it is very near and dear to me. Thank you.
And then we have the project manager. Good, Jeff?
Yep, I'll go next. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jeff Dillon. I'm the current project manager for the Skokomish project, working in the Civil Works branch here at the district.
Great. And then we have Nick LaPont.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick. I'm the realty specialist working hand in hand with Mason County to try to make the real estate piece come together.
Great, thanks. Let's go ahead and then let's go ahead and have Mason County do introductions.
Sure, I'll go first. Kevin Schutte, Mason County Commissioner, chair of the board this year.
I'm Sharon Trask, Mason County Commissioner for District 3 and the Vice Chair.
Randy Neville, Mason County Commission, District 1.
My name is Mark Neary. I am the Mason County Administrator. And that's all the team. I did not invite our team, and I apologize if I should. I could try and get Loretta on if you'd like to have her.
That's really up to you guys, how you wanted to do that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right. I want to acknowledge that we also invited the tribe as partners in the project, and so want to acknowledge we've got them on the line and let them have introductions here. I believe we have the chairman as well.
Yeah, I'm Joseph Pavel, Director of Natural Resources, and we do have the chairman, Guy.
Yeah, I'm Guy Miller, the Skokomish Tribal Chair. I haven't been up to speed with all of these meetings, but I know Joseph's been right at the forefront of all of it, so he keeps us informed of how the flow of things are going and where we're at and what's at stake here. So greetings, everyone.
Alex Gooley, Tribal Council, also work in natural resources.
And I'm Dave Herrera. I'm the Fisheries and Wildlife Policy Representative for the tribe. I'm here as well.
And we have Tom.
Tom Strong. I'm the vice chair for the Skokomish Tribal Council. I'm really hopeful that we'll be able to find a way to pull this together. This has been a very, very lengthy process to plan and then to finally get to funding to be here now and to have some struggles with trying to get this to come together is I'm really hoping on our side that we can see that happen. The opportunity to restore some function to this river system that has been choked off and degraded in so many ways is important to our people as well as to the health of everybody here in the Sound, whether it's the fish returns or clean water or whatever else that's necessary here. The Skokomish River Basin is key to being able to do that. So hoping we can really try to bring this thing home. It's been a very, very long process and a lot of work to get it this far. So I'm hopeful. Thank you.
Yes, how many years now, Joseph?
Since 2006.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you. And I see that we have
16
two
years.
additional people on the line here. Diane and Herb Gerhardt.
So Diane is my central services manager, and I believe she just has the Zoom up in our commissioner room, so that's why you see her.
Sure, makes sense.
Herb, you want to introduce yourself? Herb Gerhardt is a citizen from North Mason who participates in a lot of different things regarding environmental.
Okay, understood. All right, and then I see Loretta's on the phone.
Good afternoon.
Great. All right. So as we get started, I did want to give just a little bit of time to Jeff. Jeff, we do want to give more time to just kind of talking through what we're doing with the project, but I did want to give you a little bit of time to talk about what is the project, so that we're all kind of on the same sheet as to what is the project.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. Yeah, I won't take too much time. I think the scope of the work is baked into most people's memories in this forum. But the Skokomish project is a large-scale, reach-wide ecosystem restoration project for the benefit of restoring the ecological function for the benefit of salmon and all creatures in the Skokomish River. Big pieces of the lift involve shifting of the channel into some areas that we think are more sustainable, provide better habitat or channels. There's a lot of smaller elements that are placed throughout the reach in question, primarily with log jams, really driven with logs and wood there, to provide smaller scale habitat improvement up and down the reach. Those are the big pieces. Some other small elements to help support that as well. So that's kind of how we see it. It's a vision that's been carried through every the county and the tribe for quite a while now. We're pretty excited about getting ready to make something happen on that side if we can.
Yeah, no, we're super excited about the project, and I remember when we signed the agreement several years ago. And so we're really now at a point where, in a really kind of a highly volatile environment related to kind of a lot of projects moving through the system, high economic intensity with projects coming in severely over budget. What we're finding is that we really have to fight for the funds for this project. And if we have to have a real estate plan that we can fight for. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get this done. you know, really the bottom line is we have $13.6 million of federal funds that we received in our fiscal year 2019. And there are projects out there in the system that are short of funds and ready to go. And the programs folks up and down the line are looking under every rock to find those funds. And so one of the reasons that it's really important for us is as we go into the different environments to fight for the funds, we need to be able to articulate, you know, where we're at, what we're doing, and what the plan is. And, you know, Colonel Bullock sits through the regional governance meetings. He goes to the executive governance meetings. You know, when those questions get asked, he has to be able to carry that. So really, one of the reasons we're here today is to really look at that and say, okay, what's the plan and how are we going to get this done? So let's talk.
Well, I
All
would
right,
concur.
muted. Yeah, so all these different formats, you always forget where the mute button is, and so sorry about that. So I'll just speak, you know, just briefly and just share our appreciation, Colonel, for you and your team for the work that they've done to help us get us to this point. I know Mark and Loretta have been talking about putting together some plans to move things forward. I know that time is of the essence, and I think we're all very much aware of the sense of urgency that we need to have in order to make sure that we not just maintain the funding, but get this project out to bid, you know, awarded, and then ultimately under construction. So maybe I'll just turn it over to Mark and Loretta, and they could walk through some of the updates that we have and kind of what we're thinking here in the short term as we move forward.
Loretta, I'll let you talk if you want. I mean, I have our notes from our discussions, but I think you're definitely the expert on the subject.
Yeah, I'll start with the funding piece. So our match and the finances for acquisition are through the Floodplains by Design grant. That grant expires in June of 23. And, but prior to that, our target is to complete acquisition by the end of the fiscal year so that there's adequate time for the core team, the federal fiscal year, to do their reviews and certifications and get out to add for the summer construction. So that's a short turnaround. We've got about 4 months essentially to wrap up acquisitions to meet that goal by the end of September. What we've got remaining are 19 fee parcels, 43 TCEs, and about the same in terms of permanent channel improvement easements. So we've had little progress overall during the last 6 months. We had a burst of progress prior to that, and we're hoping to get our real estate acquisition specialist on board and turn them loose. And that's been a little bit of a delay. We've also had another pickup with some assistance from the CD and Robin, who's been a great resource to us. So we've had challenges, obviously, with personnel, and we've had movement, and then we've slowed to a snail's pace. We have contacted an outside negotiating firm, and they have availability. And that is our plan to move forward, is use someone outside to do our negotiation and acquisition. So those are kind of the highlights. Probably the most important thing to share and to be able to communicate progress is to update the web GIS tool that the Army Corps team prepared, which is a great visual that everybody can quickly monitor and check in, and use that to set our goals and our milestones and see if we're making steady progress to be able to communicate up.
No, it's Joseph. Loretta, you mentioned real estate acquisition specialists. I think we may have talked about this a little bit, but yeah, getting somebody in-house. And we've worked with those kind of groups there. You know, we've worked with Forterra. I know originally at one point in time, the tribe had been looking at mechanisms to acquire riparian reaches and so forth, and we had enlisted Forterra to take a look at that and start looking at some of those acquisition potentials. So I think they've seen the plan and the acquisition plan, so they might be a little bit familiar with it from that perspective.
I appreciate that, Joseph. We originally were looking at contracting with 2 different firms, so I think the more resources we can bring to the table, the better.
I think at one point in time, one of our stumbling blocks or our hurdles was, you know, trying to keep appraisals of values in line and not get out of line and exacerbate that to where it's begins to affect and influence our, you know, the values up and down the chain there. That was one of the things that we had been faced with originally. You know, there are willing sellers at the right price. You know, the price point is kind of a hurdle. It's a difficult position. You know, you mentioned the funding, the source of funding we have for this. There's an awful lot of uh, uh, administration that goes along with satisfying the requirements with respect to values and assess values and processes to derive these values and that sort of things. We're kind of, you know, we're limited in in our position there as far as being able to acquire processes, parcels. And the other thing that I think we've targeted our acquisition program to satisfy the matching component of the local sponsors, and and part of that, the limitation of that of being able to qualify these expenditures as matching, we're limited to the confines of the project works, which oftentimes do not align with parcel boundaries. So if we're looking at, you know, trying to as much as possible invest 100% in matching acquisitions, that leaves a lot of that out of the equation as far as our ability to negotiate or approach a particular parcel owner. So that's been another hurdle. And then there's just the, yeah, I think I think those are a few things that we need to confront and deal with.
Well, the idea that we quickly get somebody on board to do the negotiations and push this through should make a big difference. No matter what arm's length transaction is going to require us to pay a certain amount for a piece of property. I think if we send somebody out doing the appraisals again right now, we're going to find they've really gone through the roof. I think you're going to find more people likely to even take us up on that offer because the prices are so high right now. So I think time is of the essence. If we get that contract out and get started, we'll have to pay what we have to pay if we're going to move forward.
Ginny and Colonel Bullock, could you maybe just, so while we're all on the same call here, just walk us through you know, what would be some milestones or things that we could be doing outside of that, or what your process looks like to help defend the funding over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, that would be meaningful to help you defend the funding?
Well, I think that there's no doubt that it's about kind of, and we've talked about this over the last year or so, is that when we have confidence that there's a plan, you know, we've talked about, you know, the dashboard and the numbers. If the dashboard is moving, if the hiring is occurring, if there's a plan, we're able to say, hey, this is our schedule, we're executing to the schedule. And so having something that is more than a hope, it's really this is what is going to occur, gives us that ability to communicate, you know, the timeline that you can expect that. And where we really, you know, are in a, you know, basically unable to defend is that they're really, we haven't seen that. I do hear, you know, that this has been difficult. We've been working on this for a long time, and we've seen kind of that up and down sprint. You know, I hear three things. I hear resources, got to have the resources. So got to have what is the resource? Are they assigned? What's the plan to get them assigned? I hear a concern for land values. And Kevin, I think you and I talked about this and really kind of discovered this is rather than that being like a risk or an issue, again, got to know what you're going to do. What is the plan, right? It is how are you going to handle that? And then the third is how are we going to handle the complex, uninterested parties that really don't, you know, you'd like to bring them along. How are you going to get them to the point of yes? And that confidence is an important part of it is, you know, we're going to issue letters by X date. We're going to get those things done. And again, without that, we really might be talking about, you know, the phone call that says we're going to take the money, and then we're talking about a termination of an agreement, and we don't want to go there. It's just really something we don't want to do.
Thank you.
How many properties are we talking about?
121 acquisition packages, and those are outright fee acquisitions, conservation easement acquisitions, construction access easements, maintenance access easements, but I think 121 individual packages.
And about 7 individual landowners that represent those individual interests.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
Sounds to me though, if we just get somebody under contract, we start dropping a few of these deals and get them behind us, that'll give plenty of reason to show that the process is moving forward, unless I'm misunderstanding what was said earlier.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I haven't had a chance to talk with our partner about this, but I have you know, we might have to, you know, start reconsidering some of those sideboards that I, you know, mentioned. And, you know, and that's certainly going to affect the resource we have in hand. You know, if we're looking at, I think Randy just mentioned the values going up, like we did a whole lot of work and met a whole lot of administrative requirements and had that one wrestled to the ground as far as doing these appraisals. And let me tell you, that was a process. And now they're out of date and we have to do those all over again. We would, you know, so either that or if we go with those appraisals and then we're in the confines of our funding source, so we'll have to either you know, have to go offline to supplement that or whatever, you know, or write new funding, get new funding, more, update our agreements. We'd have to redo all those appraisals. We had to do those appraisals, had to get people online to do those, and And then those have to be reviewed by the Army Corps to see if they cut the mustard. And then, and then our funding organization has to review them too. And then we argued with them and petitioned them that, well, the Army Corps has got a higher bar than you. So by the time they get redone reviewing them, that ought to be satisfy your review process. So we wanted to try to eliminate that source of redundancy, and we've gone through those. And these things all took us, quite a long time and quite a bit of leveraging, and finally got to where we needed to be with that. And then by the time we get there, and then it's another year or 2 years, and then another spike in the real estate value. So those things that we had in hand working through that process are now out of date.
I'm tired just hearing what you had to go through. But I think if we get somebody under contract, we get started, we'll get some of the low hanging fruit right away based on the appraisals that we already have. I think the main thing is getting started. And if we can drop some of those, I guess my main question is, there was a brief description, a great question that was asked by Commissioner Schutte. What does it look like to be defensible? Does my scenario make it defensible if we drop some and get some of it going?
Well, I think it's a starting point, but it isn't really a defensible, because that you have low-hanging fruit and you have real hard targets in the acquisition process. And those that plan is where your resources are going to have to come to bear. A miracle occurs for 4 months worth of work is not an insignificant challenge. You have to know, what is it going to take to get this done? And my concern is that I think you have a lot of pieces, right? I think you have a lot of pieces. How do they rack and stack? What does it mean to pull a schedule together and lay that out so that the resources that you have or are going to acquire, when applied, will get you to the end point? And with a track record of where we're at today, it's true that you have solved a lot of we've solved a lot of like the complexities, but we still got to get them done. Got to figure out how to get this done.
What do you need to see from us, like Commissioner Schutte's question, that would make you able to defend it? What exactly do you need us to make happen? If you spell it out, then maybe we can just make that happen. We can achieve it. But if we don't know, maybe we'll have issues.
Or another addition to that, Commissioner, I appreciate you saying that, is when is the next time, I'm assuming tomorrow, but when is the next time that you're going to have to defend the funding for this? How much, Loretta and Mark, I think we've given them the authority to, in the past, to contract out for this work. So it's a matter of, signing on the dotted line and getting that going. We know the fiscal year ends September 30. So in between today and September 30th, when's the next time that you're going to have to defend this, so that we have some expectation for, how quickly we're going to need to, move on this and get some outside help?
Jesse, I'm going to see if you have a specific answer. I would say generally it could be yesterday, it could be tomorrow, but I don't know if we have like specific patterns that we're seeing to this at all.
No, Ginny, I wish I could tell you it will be X day at X time. I think this is something that we have tried to communicate with subsets of this group fairly emphatically over the last year or more. But we just can't carry over funds from FY19 indefinitely. This project is incredibly beneficial, and the cost per habitat unit of this project is very low compared to anything else in Puget Sound. So the merits of the project itself is what has allowed us to hold on to the funding for this long. It is a great project. We really want to build this project with you. But it's just not, it's just not acceptable in the federal program to hold on to $13.6 million of of ecosystem restoration money for 3 or more years. I mean, it's just very uncommon. We have been able to hold on to it just because it is such a good project. So at any point, there could be another project that needs this funding, and we will be asked at that time, swear on your life, sign in blood, when are you going to have the real estate to award this contract? And right now, we've had a plan from you in the past. There has been progress, but the interim milestones have not been met. So our chain doesn't believe us anymore that there's a viable plan. So we'll have to come up with something that's much more concrete. And then we're going to have to demonstrate meeting some of those interim milestones with regularity to build confidence again. But no, I don't have a specific answer for, when the call will come that the funding is really needed elsewhere.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I guess why I was asking was at the top of the meeting, Jenny, you had mentioned that there were some specific meetings that Colonel Bullock participates in and where this comes up. And I was trying to ascertain if those were how regular they meet, where he would be put on the spot in a public setting like that. I get that, Jesse. I know your work with the congressional folks and the agency folks, and I totally get that you not know the day nor the hour. But I was just wondering if there was going to be a moment here in the near term where Colonel Bullock was going to have to, go to bat again on this, and wanted to make sure that we were giving him something to talk about that was more positive than what he's had in the past.
I kind of defend this plan quarterly, and I can get you the next date. Somebody just look them up. But it's a quarterly update.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that when I get to the next quarterly update, the ship's going to sink, but it gets increasingly difficult for me to maintain the current course of action, which is hold the funds until the county has a plan that gets us there. So, I think Sharon asked a very pointed question, which is how many parcels, how many actions are we talking about? It's 121 off the dashboard. That's still, I think there's still 85 that need to be executed. I think that's right. That's a steep climb, right? You'd have to have a plan that was 10 or 20 a month to really get after that, 10, 20 a month to get after this fiscal year. If any of us were going to bet as to whether or not that would happen, and we were going to bet our houses and livelihood on it, I wouldn't stake my house on it. So, you asked specifically, and again, I'm sorry, hopefully I'm not offending anyone. I'm just trying to be very direct in the interest of time and brevity. Kevin, you asked a very good question about, hey, what exactly are you looking at in a plan? Well, a plan that said, hey, we're going to move 10 actions a month and we're going to get this done in 8 months, and we know we have a deadline, and then demonstrating 2 or 3 months going by and having that and meeting that pace. I know it's much more complicated. I'm very much simplifying, but then being able to see that you're meeting the pace of the plan that you set forward, like Jesse said, meeting those milestones, then it's very easy for me to say, look, they're on track to have this ready in 8 months. They're green on their pace, and looks like we're down to X number of remaining actions. There'll always be sticky actions at the end. I think everyone expects that. And I know we're trying to get low hanging fruit first, but we've been picking at low hanging fruit for a couple of years now. So it's concerning because we in the Corps really want this project to go forward. Feeling pressure from us, it's because we really love this project. We really, really want it to go forward. But increasingly it's anyway, I'm being redundant. I'm saying what Jesse already said. I'm just saying it with my voice, but we're starting to break our own rules by holding money, and we have reasons for doing it that we can brief, but it's becoming an increasingly unpopular position to hold.
Well, I mentioned, the low hanging fruit, and I think another way to maybe look at the strategy would be that, we've done some of our tracking spreadsheets and so forth. We've broken the project down into some component parts, as, that kind of resembles the way the restoration plan was put together. And we broke down the acquisition plan into those component parts that might make sense, and, to target one, maybe one where we've got some good momentum on. And I think I've seen it broken down into 3 basic acquisition plans. And, and maybe that would be a way to demonstrate progress in that instead of shotgunning the whole county, to just strategize and focus on one of those and get 80 to 90% there on one of those component parts and kick our sideboards down and just go after that portion of it. And, like I said, uh, would, we'd have to, we'd probably have to come up, at some point, our acquisition plan is underfunded. You know, if that's our limitation, is those sidebars that we put in place. And even at that rate, I believe at this point in time, we're probably underfunded. But, if I don't know if we can move it all and stick it all into just one portion of it and instead of shotgun, but pick a package and just put all the effort and all the resources into that and then go out and get some more resources if we need to. Or maybe, like I said, we might have to go offline to supplement that fund if it's not gonna, if we're not gonna be able to use it for matching or not gonna be able to do these acquisitions within the confine of the funding law requirements, and we'll have to cut through with some offline resources to satisfy that. And but then that's just one thought I might be having that would help us demonstrate some progress versus this shotgun approach of trying to pick off the low hanging fruits and see where we're going to see where a strategy like that gets us.
That's a wise strategy, Joseph. I like it.
The phased approach. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Padel?
Yeah, I guess you could call it that. But yeah, I think it's
okay. I mean, I don't think it's helpful for us to try to push any harder. I think you heard kind of where we're coming from. We have a saying in the tactical side of the Army that hope is not a method, right? Hope is not a method. What is required to sustain funding for this project is a plan that gets to complete acquisition that's different than what's been going on in the last 2 years. That's a different approach that can be communicated that shows, hey, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z different. We're gonna get after this in this timeline, and this is why this project should maintain funding. Again, this isn't one where the big bad feds are trying to pull funding, at least not at our level. We really, really want this project to go forward. It is a huge part of our longer campaign to protect Puget Sound and the salmonids, but we have to have something to defend. We have to have something to defend. And right now, the news, the ticker tape at the national level is pretty dire because it looks like slow progress to get 30 or so parcels and 80 remaining, and it's tough. It's tough to communicate right now.
Yeah, well, and the other thing I've been thinking about is we really need to sell this. We've pitched it in any number of ways as basically the government. But, we're dealing with people and there's people that do that. And, I'm not a public relations specialist or a salesman, but I could even see that what we're doing is it's not reaching the target. For one thing, we're just trying to sell. We got to sell each and every single landowner or parcel individually, approach those individually. And we need a package for each and every one of those people. We can't throw a 3-inch thick book at them and tell them, look at page XYZ or look at this map of the whole county and there's your little, your point on the map and that's where you are and this is what it'll do for you. We need to take that point on the map and blow it up into a focused, singularly targeted graphic for that person, that parcel. This is what you look like without the project. This is what you look like with the project. you know, and there's 2 pages and then 1 page of, that's it, 3-page glossy for each and every parcel.
Yeah, and that's certainly been the approach, Joseph, for the properties and that we've already acquired. It's been individual one-on-one meetings with maps and information that's specific and unique, and of course the appraisal package. So
Yeah.
it's an opportunity, obviously, to talk with the property owners and hear their own individual concerns and what gets us to yes.
Yeah.
And for those that we have acquired so far, they're absolutely hugely supportive of the restoration effort and want to see it happen. Definitely. So yeah, you're right on point about the individual, and it obviously takes time to make all those individual connections and get it done.
Yeah.
This is Dave. If I can make a few comments, I think we need to keep in mind that the Skokomish River is one of those rivers that's necessary for recovering salmon for Puget Sound, for the whole of Puget Sound. It's the only Chinook producer in Hood Canal, so it's critical. And there's a lot of people investing a lot of state, federal, and even local dollars into salmon recovery across the Puget Sound. We are having some successes here in the Skokomish, and getting the ecosystem restoration plan completed would be huge to one of the last pieces of the puzzle here to restoring the health of the Skokomish River itself, which would lift, Hood Canal out of having this Chinook listing on us. I think there's a lot of people out there that have an interest in seeing us be successful. There are groups like Forterra, the Nature Conservancy, the Pew Foundation that I've been talking with recently that want to see us be successful. So I think we need to keep, besides what we have to do on the ground, which we've heard about, how big a challenge it is. I think we should be looking broader. There's people, organizations, and even dollars out there that would want to help us if we, elevate this to say, hey, this is what could be here. So I think we need to be thinking about more than just what the sponsors here are responsible for, but what kind of assistance can we bring in? I mean, those companies have real estate experts, and I mean, they do that all the time. I just think we should be thinking about reaching out to those kind of expertise, people that I think would like to help us.
Yeah, and this is where we kick over the sideboards, because these people go out and buy. They're not limited by appraised values or batching portions and stuff. We're, like I said, one of the things we looked at was, initially when we had a few lined up parcel acquisitions, but they didn't meet our criteria when we were working with Forterra before. And we set those criteria aside, just kick over those sidebars and just start going out there and doing those acquisitions. Go out to plan A, strategy A, acquisition is huge. I think throughout the restoration community, that is, job one is acquisitions. And the more you can just straight up do acquisitions without even doing anything else, get you so much farther down the road as far as your ability to do restoration and to serve the needs of the resource. So if we just, in conjunction with this, but that would be, like I said, a joint strategy, but not limited by the sideboards that we're having to deal with here in this plan. If we bring those groups on board, they're not going to be tied to those sideboards, and we'll have to find the resources to make up the difference. Whether they bring those resources with them, they certainly bring a lot to the table with respect to being able to draw more attention to that.
Is the conservation district part of the people that we've reached out to?
The conservation district is the one that wrote the grants, and that the county is being funded through to do these acquisition strategies. And they've been the technical arm of the development of the ecosystem restoration plan for the county. And now we're, in real estate acquisition, more administrative side. So they've, basically passed it off to the county administration.
And Commissioner, the Conservation District was also instrumental in managing some of the appraisal contracts, providing staff resources to assist with acquisition, and certainly during the survey portions and on the ground for the legal descriptions for the properties to be acquired. So they've definitely participated where and when they can in terms of bodies to help.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and throughout their years of working in the valley, in the county, there are a lot of race relationships there that I think we were able to take advantage of throughout the progress of the project.
Yeah, I don't think we can say enough about John Bolander and Evan Bowder and Robin Stoddard and the whole team over there. I mean, they've been fantastic. And when we've asked them to lean in, there's never been any hesitation on their part. We have tremendous project partners on this. So I think it's it's just clear that we need to on our end start delivering some results, and and hopefully the next time this group gets together, we're talking about that progress, that we're looking through the windshield and not the rearview mirror.
No, I think that's right, Commissioner, and even ahead of being able to show results, because we understand that takes time. Having a plan, not unlike Mr. Pable just laid out, just say, hey, we're gonna change the following constraints. We're gonna change our approach and methodology in the following way, and then here's our the timelines we think we can meet. That's really what we're looking for. And so when do we need a plan like that? As soon as possible. I mean, I'm getting pressure for project termination now, and I need to move as fast as I can. But I think the questions are, how fast can we create a realistic plan? And then what do we think is a realistic timeline? And I certainly am humble in the face of understanding and appreciating the challenges. We're all on this call because we want to see this project move forward. But there's been a challenge clearly, and we gotta be able to communicate how we're moving forward. So I think you get it. I don't know how else to say it. I think we're all straight. We just got to think of what I would hope is that as a team, we can come up with an innovative approach that changes the game, because the game we've been playing for the last couple of years hasn't been working. So whether that's dropping sideboards or phasing out an approach or changing our methodology, we're going to have to do something different, or we risk project termination. That's the bottom line.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Thank you, Colonel and team. I think this is something that, I know that this is something that Loretta and I have discussed, and I believe that Loretta has a a more concrete plan in place than she has before, in the sense that we have access to some resources that have been difficult to find in the past. I think our approach is just let's go as fast and as strong as we can, hoping that it's enough, but make some progress. You know, let's start to actually put some marks up on the board, and then see if it's good enough to protect. But we should definitely continue to move forward with the goal of actually making progress and making some purchases of those properties.
And to tag on to that, Mark and team, I'd like to follow up with Joseph and his folks. I really like the idea of extending our abilities with Forterra or the Nature Conservancy or both, and make sure that we get that baked into our real estate plan, and have a solid narrative that we can present to the core team.
We can do that rather quickly.
Yes, great, Joseph. I'll follow up after this to see about your availability and set some time.
Okay.
And please include me in that too, Loretta. I'd love to meet with the guys. I have not had the opportunity to meet Joseph and his team yet.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks, Tim, for your time today. I mean, this is, again, a super critical project for the sound and for the region. We really want to see it go forward. There's only so much we can do on the federal side. Please let us know where we can be of assistance. And I think we've kind of been clear on the situation we're in right now. So that's really all we have.
What do you know about FEMA? Do you hold any sway?
I know a lot about FEMA.
Do you have any influence or power over FEMA?
Bluntly, no.
Okay.
But I understand what you're asking.
It was worth a try, Joseph.
FEMA is a big dog in the federal family.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, team.
Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.